Hey everybody, I'm Chris and welcome to my channel. Today's video is about gateway gourmands. In other words, gourmand fragrances that are good for people who do not want to smell like food. Classically or typically, I've always loved gourmand fragrances. I've basically loved every category, but there was always a special place in my heart for gourmand fragrances. Recently, I've been wanting to do more woody and spicy and incensey fragrances, but the weather really just started to turn really cold and there was something in the air and I felt like now's a good time to do some gourmand fragrances. I'm actually wearing a pretty sweet gourmand fragrance today. I'm gonna ease my way into my gourmand perfumes with the ones that I have here that I would categorize as gateway gourmands. There is something in each of these fragrances that give it a gourmand flair, but it's not an overwhelming gourmand or foodie perfume. So I think several of these perfumes would appeal to people who don't like their fragrances too sweet or too dessert-like. And with that, I'm just gonna jump right in. I have a box right next to me and I'm just gonna grab and go. The first one I pulled is actually one of my favorite gateway gourmands, and it is called Tiesenddu by the house of Frassai. I have two from this house as part of today's video. If I remember correctly, there is a backstory to this fragrance. This perfume has a backstory. I think it was inspired by the creator, I believe, at Tiesenddu, based on childhood memories of her baking cake with her grandmother. Now, this is very nostalgic for me as well because it smells like a particular type of bread that my mom used to make all the time when I was really, really little growing up. And it's Amish friendship bread. That type of bread is like a basic but very delicious dough that takes like 28 days to make. I can't even remember, but it's basically a sweet bread that has spices but no other additives. Take that sweet spiced bread, that Amish friendship bread. If any of you ever had, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Let me know. Particularly if you were a child of the 80s, that was a big thing to make Amish friendship bread, and you would give the dough, you would give the starter kit to your friends, and then everybody in the neighborhood was making Amish friendship bread. But anyways, take that bread, take a sweet, slightly spiced bread, and add brown sugar, add some rum. This has a little bit of rum in it. It definitely has like a bitter orange peel, like an orange zest somewhere in here. And in the dry down, there's leather, but it definitely has that baking spices aspect to it. There's a sweetness, I want to say it's brown sugar and some other spices like maybe cinnamon and nutmeg that's in this fragrance. So it is gourmandy, but it's not overly sweet. This is not an overly sweet fragrance. And even though to me it smells like a sweetbread, I think it's just that leather, and there might be some evergreen in here that kind of pulls it out of the really super sweet zone and makes it a perfect gateway gourmand in my opinion. It's just super comforting and pleasant. The leather's pretty prominent, but it's not in your face, and it's just, I think, gives it a nice warmth and kind of grounds it and pulls it out of that sticky sweet zone. So that's the first one. The next one here is one of my favorite vanillas from one of my very favorite companies. It's American Cream by Lush. I absolutely love the Lush store. I feel like a kid in a candy store when I go in there, and I always come out with bags of goodies. They have actually really good products, but American Cream is one of my favorite vanillas. I got the hair conditioner or some hair product as a Christmas gift and fell in love with the scent. Just thought it smelled so delicious. So I was really thrilled when they came out with the fragrance, and I do love these smaller size bottles. They're affordable, practical, and portable. So this fragrance I think is loosely based on like a vanilla milkshake, and I have seen other people post on Instagram and they'll post this milkshake with strawberries and everything, and I do get that somewhat, but this to me is very aromatic in the beginning. I know I can smell like thyme and lavender. It's like thyme, sage, or lavender. It's two of the three. I know there's lavender, but it's nice and softly aromatic in the beginning. That's what I get, like an aromatic vanilla, like a lavender sage or a lavender thyme milkshake. It's very nice. And it's not until the dry down do I start to pick up any type of fruit, maybe like a strawberry. So it's quite lovely. It's slightly foody, but it's not overly foody. And it's not a sticky sweet vanilla, and I think that's thanks to the aromatic, the lavender, thyme, sage, whatever's in the top kind of keeps it out of that sticky sweet zone. Okay, so The next one is my big gun, my heavy hitter Gateway Gourmand, and it's Blanchebet by Liquid Imaginaires. And I got this right when it came out, and I don't know if you can tell, if you can appreciate it. The juice is already a tan color. It's already discolored. That tells you that there's vanilla or vanillin in here. It's absolutely one of my most unique gourmands, and it's getting a lot of attention on YouTube and Instagram because it's very, very different from most things out on the market. And for the right person, I think it could be just a complete home run. I think people who like gourmands and those who don't care for gourmands could like this, as long as they like lactonic, creamy and lactonic and milky fragrances, because that's really what this is. This is a very milky, creamy, lactonic, and musky fragrance. It smells good. I really stopped wearing this over the summer because it was just too heavy for me personally. And there was one day it was really hot. It just kind of choked me out. But one thing you do have to know about this, because I had a friend ask me, she said, oh, Chris, I heard Blanchebet is just creamy and milky and fluffy like a marshmallow. It is all of that. But to me, there are some pretty strong notes that really kind of pull it out of the ooey gooey sticky sweet gourmand category that you need to know about. And this is absolutely, don't even think about blind buying this one. Don't blind buy anything, remember my motto. But this one would be one for sure you wouldn't want to blind buy, because I really get I get white flowers in here. There's unmistakable white flowers. To me, this smells like you had some delicate white flowers, whether it's jasmine and tuberose, and you kind of dunked them in some coconut oil. And then you took that flower that's dunked and smothered in coconut oil and you kind of plopped it in a big warm glass of smooth cream or milk. And then everything is just enveloped in this really nice botanical musk ambrette. So that's a big part of the fragrance. So it's very milky, it's creamy, but I do get light florals, a heavy musk, and there is mystical incense, I want to say. So there is something that I can't quite put my finger on it. It doesn't smell like classic incense, but there's something, I could say, incensey in here. There's also cacao. So it's not chocolatey, it's not sweet, but there's like a dusting of unsweetened cocoa in here that I definitely get. So it's a gourmand, but it has other things that really kind of pull it out of that dessert, sticky sweet, overwhelming, cloying category. This is very, very strong. I only need like 3 or 4 sprays and it gets me most of the day. It's strong, it's a powerhouse, it's quite lovely. I have to be in the mood, but when I am, it's gorgeous. So the next one I am pulling up might be a surprise. Many of you might not think this is a gourmand, but it is. So these are all gateway gourmands, so they're not overly gourmand. But this to me has gourmand aspects. It is a sandalwood, it's Santal Austral. And this to me is a gateway gourmand sandalwood. It is an ambery sandalwood like Santal Complet. But if you really love Santal Complet, but you were just fed up with the terrible performance, this one is a much better option. Take away the lemon, take away the coconut in Santal Complet, and then in its place kind of put, I think there's almond milk in here, a little bit of iris, and there's tonka. So this is very creamy, it's very sweet, it's very powdery, probably from the iris, but it's still very fluffy. There is a sweetness in here, and it's probably from maybe some resin, and I know tonka is in here. So it has gourmand aspects to it, but it's not dessert-like. It's absolutely not foodie. And this has a monster performance. This is gonna last you 10 to 12 hours on your skin and days on your clothes. So a great alternative to the poor performing Santal Complet. Okay, I could tell this is a BDK from the bottle. And I knew I only had one BDK on the list. So the next one is Rouge Smoking. So this one is marketed as a cherry fragrance. I think most people know that, but to me, this does not scream cherry. Cherry is way in the background. This is a cherry flavored root beer float. So a cherry root beer float. That's what I get from this. There's something very sarsaparilla. about this fragrance. I don't know what it is. I know that there's like cherry, bergamot, there's something else in the top. Oh, I know what it is. It's pink pepper. So this cherry, bergamot, and pink pepper that comes together, it makes it very cola-like. And it definitely has a sarsaparilla vibe to it. So sarsaparilla is something that smells like root beer. As it dries down, the vanilla comes out more. It's not a sticky vanilla. It's not an overly sweet or cloying vanilla. It would be a gateway vanilla in my opinion, a little bit powdery. There's heliotrope in here. And the funny thing is that every single person who smelled this on me in my family, so 3 out of 4 people, said it smelled like root beer. So there's something to that in here, but I get a little bit of cherry, but it's not overwhelmingly cherry. So again, I would call it a cherry root beer float, and the float part is the vanilla in here. It's very nice. My one negative, I would say performance not stellar. It's like 4 to 6 hours. 6 hours is really pushing it unless you kind of go to town. But a good gateway gourmand in my opinion.
So, let's see what's next.
So the next one I picked is a super fun one called Lost Alice by Masque Milano. This is a super fun, this is a floral gourmand. I would put this in the floral gourmand category. And in my opinion, you know, like many fragrances, a lot of them can be love or hate. I would definitely say that about this one because it's very, very unique. I think you either love it, you find it really fun, or you just hate it. So this is a very iris dominant or orris dominant fragrance. It's very vegetal because this comes from the orris root. This has a vegetal feel to it. The iris is very vegetal and root-like. So that, in addition to the carrot that's in here, so there's milk, there's carrot, there's pepper, and there's tea. So the point of view is, you know, like Alice in Wonderland, you're sitting somewhere eating carrot cake at some party. So even though this fragrance has gourmand aspects to it for sure, you've got a really heavy ambrette. This has a beautiful musk, a beautiful botanical musk. So you've got a musk and you've got a pretty heavy sandalwood. It's a smooth and dry sandalwood, but it's definitely in the base. So the pepper, the sandalwood, and that gorgeous botanical musk keep this from being a sticky, sweet, heavy dessert-like gourmand. And I think for people who like adventures, who like fun fragrances, and who do like orris and lactonic fragrances, this is a really fun one, and I do adore this one. Okay, so getting towards the end, another Frassai fragrance. I can tell by the bottle, and this one is Blondine. Now, Tiesenddu was more of a gourmand than Blondine. This is still a gourmand because it has gourmand elements, but I put emphasis on the floral. This is a beautiful floral gourmand that is easy to love as long as you love the note of lily, because this is a very lily forward or lily prominent fragrance for sure. So to me, this kind of smells like if you were to make a lily shortbread or like an unsweetened lily muffin. Oh my gosh, lily is so prominent. And fortunately, I love the note of lily. So it is a gourmand. It's a floral gourmand because it has a lot of gourmand notes, but again, it's not sticky sweet. So this one has, I want to say this has caramel, salt, and there's butter. It sounds like it's going to be ooey gooey, but it's not, because it also has salt and it has suede. So it kind of pulls it out of the sweet category. And that's why I think it smells like a lily scone, because scones aren't overly sweet, but they're definitely something edible. But the note of lily kind of pulls it out of that overly gourmand category, and I just absolutely adore this fragrance. And it's one of the few floral fragrances that I wear in the hot and in the cold weather. Oh, I know what this one is. This one is one of my favorite fragrances. It was in my 10 fragrances for life. And it was, I had a gourmand in there, but I didn't want anything too gourmandy, because if something is too sweet, you're gonna get sick of it and then you're never gonna wanna wear it again. And so I think Minuit et Demi is really a great gourmand because there's no doubt it's a gourmand, but the way that it is just composed makes it a perfect gateway gourmand because it's never too sweet, even though there are definite gourmand elements. You know, this has coffee, this has caramel, there's really wonderful spices from cardamom. So, oh my gosh, it just smells so dang good. There's also pimento or pimento leaf in here, which is kind of a fun note. I don't really get it. I'm not going to tell you I get it because I don't. I get more of the coffee and the cardamom and a little bit of caramel, and it has vanilla in here, but it's perfectly balanced with a little bit, some more heftier notes, cedar, tobacco, and I want to say vetiver. So we've got this push and pull of notes. We've got these really sweet notes, but some more drier grounding notes kind of makes it almost a perfect gourmand, and one that if you're afraid of something too sweet, this one is very, very easy to like. And I say this because I know a lot of people in the perfume world that don't like overly sweet gourmand fragrances, but they're big fans of this one. So an easy to love gateway gourmand. So I think we're getting down to the end here. Oh, this one is my very budget friendly kind of a gateway gourmand. It's Pure Pearl by Pascal Morabito. I've spoken about this in the past. This is kind of like a vanilla marshmallow tonka milkshake with a little bit of citruses, no, a little bit of fruits and a little bit of florals. And when I first talked about this eons ago, I downplayed the florals. And if you are very sensitive to florals and you love gourmands, but you hate anything floral, you're gonna detect the florals in here. But to me, they're just not overly prominent. The star of the show is the vanilla, the tonka, and this marshmallow thing. So it has heliotrope and pear blossom, maybe something else, maybe gardenia, jasmine. In my opinion, they're very soft. It's very much in the background. But like I say, if you are really sensitive to florals, and you know who you are, I'm not gonna call you out, you're gonna pick them up here. That's not my complaint. I think this smells so dang good. And this is like $20. I think it's just so yummy smelling, but it's not sticky sweet. My problem with this, it is the performance. Even though it's like $20, I paid $20 for this. You know, you can coat yourself in it and you're not gonna get 3 hours. So for those of you who find that despicable, don't even think about getting this. I do have a lot of people that follow me that don't like beast mode fragrances. And I know this from their feedback, they do love this one and other quiet fragrances. So this is for the person who likes their fragrances on the soft side. This is a great one to wear if you are not allowed to wear anything scented at your workplace because nobody's gonna smell you. Okay, the very last one is another Lush fragrance. It is one of my all-time favorite fragrances by Lush, and it is called Lord of Misrule. This is a great vanilla fragrance, if and only if you like patchouli. So this is a vanilla patchouli, and I want to say black pepper fragrance. So the patchouli in here is very prominent, but it's gourmandy. There's something a little bit chocolatey and a little bit sweet, and maybe that's the vanilla along in here, but it's a very recognizable scent. So if you do not like pepper, if you do not like patchouli, don't even think about this one. But I think it's a great gourmandy vanilla because the patchouli and the pepper keep it out of that really sweet zone and kind of pull it into the more neutral category. And the performance on this is amazing. These small bottles, like I said, are great and they're very affordable. I want to say maybe 40, 50 bucks for these 1 ounce bottles. So that's it. That's a list of my gateway gourmands. Fragrances that do have gourmand aspects to them, but they're not overly sweet or overwhelming to those who do not want to smell like food all day. And so these fragrances are gonna help me transition into my more decadent gourmand fragrances that right now I don't wanna wear until it gets super, super cold and the weather is heading in that direction. So if you have any gateway gourmands or easy to like gourmands that I didn't talk about and that you are enjoying, let me know in the comments section below. And again, thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.